Hello. Well, here's one you don't see every day. This is a JBL D123, and this is where this was the kind of the genesis for a couple of different models of speakers developed from this frame. Obviously, first it was the D123, and which was an extended shallow frame, 12-inch, that was appropriate for mounting inside of walls. And that's where this one came from. The reason it's here is because here's the cone assembly that came out of it. The lead wires broke here. They get the aluminum edge-wound wire can have a tendency to get brittle over the years, more so than copper, because copper is a bit softer. But we tried fixing the terminals and it just would not take, so the only thing I could do is recone it. Now this all paper cone is no longer available. It hasn't been available for a very long time. So what we end up using is the factory Recone kit for the D123 was a 2125. That was the Pro part number, Pro Professional Series part number. And what ends up being used is actually the base cone, and I mean baseline cone for the 123A-1, 123A-3, 2212, and 2213. Now, these cones, they're aftermarket cones, and they're very good cones. I don't particularly like the color, so I ended up dyeing it best I could. I know it's kind of splotchy, but I think the color looks better than this kind of purplish hue. But another issue I ran into was the gap was a little bit too narrow for the voice coil that's called out for this, so I had to hone the top plate, and I'm not going to show you how I did it because a lot of you would probably cringe, but it actually worked out very well. So I was able to hone it out a couple of thousandths of an inch so it would actually clear the top plate, otherwise it wasn't going to work. So the original gap in these speakers is 44 thousandths. I had to hone it out to 48 thousandths, 46 thousandths, something like that, so it would actually work. So let's see how it works. All right, here we go. And it works just fine. Once again, my neighbors are going to think there's an air raid going on, but that's okay. This one takes a little bit lower voltage, test voltage, because the motor's not as big. But what other model did this give birth to was the 126A. That is the woofer, the woofer in the L65 Jubal. Turn my electronics off here. So turned out pretty nice. I thought I was going to have, I thought I had an extra red terminal cap to put on there, but turns out I don't, so a red Sharpie's going to have to do. The terminals are actually in pretty good shape. So anyway, there we have it. D123. This gentleman is in Massachusetts, and he's going to be thrilled that he gets to fill the hole in his wall from this speaker. All right. I appreciate you all listening and watching, and we'll talk later.